provide you with the lowest per GB rates, night or day. SLT 4G, driving you ever forward.
Making headlines at first at 9. Show of support. Mass public rally organised in support of the interim government draws thousands to Parliament roundabout. U-turn. Speaker unwilling to recognise the interim government while ministers accuse him of unconstitutional conduct.
Nobody can have ideas outside the constitution of Sri Lanka, least of all officials who are supposed to carry out the constitution of Sri Lanka.
One expert also agrees.
With the utmost respect to the Honourable Speaker, he has no authority or power in law to make such a decision.
In the heat of the moment, 2 United National Party MPs who attacked the retired major near the Temple Trees arrested and granted bail. End of an era. The curtain about to fall on the career of the most successful left-arm spinner in the history of Test cricket. Global trade. Chinese president cries an attack on the global free trade system.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm KHACHANOV. Now let's start you off with your local stories. President Maithripala Sirisena said today that the majority support of 113 parliamentarians within the parliament has already been achieved. The head of state also emphasised that his decision to appoint former President Mahinda Rajapaksa as the new Prime Minister will not be changed under any circumstances. In the meantime, the mass rally organised in support of the new interim government was worked off under the patronage of the President as well as the new Prime Minister today.
The mass rally organised in support of the new interim government, which was established following the appointment of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka, was held today at the Parliament roundabout in Colombo. Themed 113 plus public wonder that protects the nation, the rally saw thousands upon thousands converging at the Parliament roundabout via 3 main roads in Colombo. Members representing all political parties supporting the interim government, including the SLFP and SLPP, participated in the rally today, along with members of the United National Party who pledged their support to the new government.
It is because President's move is lawful that we are preparing the Prime Minister's seat in Parliament. The Prime Minister's office and the office of Leader of the House were handed over to us. But Speaker still says that the majority of MPs are requesting for the Parliament to be summoned. Parliamentarians who made these requests aren't on their side anymore because they are with us now. We will show the majority of 120 parliamentarians on the 14th of November. We will come to power on that day. We ask the Speaker not to play with the public's mandate. We warn the Speaker that if he tries to convene the Parliament unconstitutionally before the 14th, we will secure power with the support of 120 parliamentarians on our side, and our first task on the agenda that day will be to appoint a new Speaker. After 3 years, our President took that historic decision to stand with the patriotic people of this country. The era which attempted to divide the country by a federal constitution, selling off national resources to foreigners, imprisonment of war heroes and disrespect towards Buddhism is now over. The era to fulfill national expectations has now dawned. There were plots to assassinate the President, and the Terror Investigation Division became the centre to plan assassinations. Speaker Karujayasuriya doesn't really need to recognise our Prime Minister because chief prelates of Buddhist sects, Archbishop of Colombo, as well as Hindu and Islamic religious leaders have recognised him as PM. We extend our wishes to the President for taking this brave decision after 3.5 years.
Supporters remained at the venue despite heavy rains in the afternoon. President Maithripala Sirisena and Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa were given a raucous welcome by the supporters as they arrived to address the rally.
It isn't difficult for us to work together because we are from the same party and we know each other since the 1970s. So it isn't a surprise that we joined hands after a temporary separation and we came together for the country. After discussing with the President as the Minister of Finance, I deliberated whether taxes along with commodity levies and prices of fuel could be reduced. That's exactly what I did within a day. Couldn't they have done it? No, because they only wanted to have luxury for themselves by putting economic burdens on the people. I always used to allocate more time for the speeches delivered by President Maithripala Sirisena even when he was the secretary. That's what I'm going to do today as well. We will not let this unity be broken by insidious actions. I'm extremely happy that after 4 years, myself and Mahinda Rajapaksa walked up to a stage together. I must emphasize that we removed someone who didn't respect our culture and who worked in line with agendas of foreign nations. And then we appointed someone who is suitable for the country, who rejects foreign agendas, who is one of our own, and that is Mahinda Rajapaksa. Everyone asks whether I, who came to power with the support of the United National Party, had any other options other than appointing Mahinda Rajapaksa as the Prime Minister. When Speaker Karu Jayasuriya asked me the same question after an hour-long discussion the other day, I reminded him how I offered this very position to him after the recent local authorities election and the no-confidence motion against Ranil Wickremesinghe. The only thing I didn't do was beg him. The Speaker then came to meet with me with former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Speaker Jayasuriya nervously said that he can't go against Wickremesinghe. Karu Jayasuriya, you put me in a very difficult position that day, but I never stopped my attempts to remove Wickremesinghe from the post. 2 months back, I took the first step of these attempts and told former Minister Sajith Premadasa that I can't work with his party leader because of our differences on political principles. I then offered him the post of PM and he too turned it down. The position of the premiership was then given to someone who was brave enough to topple the power of Ranil Wickremesinghe, and it was Mahinda Rajapaksa. Ranil Wickremesinghe's economic and political principles burdened the poor in the country for 3.5 years. He forgot to address problems of the country. Decisions of the government were made not by the cabinet of ministers, senior ministers or the president. These decisions were made by Ranil Wickremesinghe and his flock of butterflies. We have already got the support of 113 parliamentarians. Over 80% of the population in the country is supporting our decision today. I want to emphasize that I will not back down or change my decision due to any threats or influences.
තැබූ පය ගත්ත තීන්දුව ඉදිරියටම යනවා මිසක් පසුපසට නොගන්නා බව ප්‍රකාශ කරමින්.
Speaker of the Parliament, Karu Jayasuriya, added another twist to the ongoing standoff between the interim government and the faction supporting the ousted Prime Minister. Issuing a statement, the Speaker said that he is compelled to accept the status that existed before the regime change until such time the political alliance prove their majority in Parliament. Ministers of the interim government were, however, swift to condemn the Speaker's remarks, calling the statement unconstitutional.
Speaker Karu Jayasuriya issued a statement today saying that it is his paramount duty to protect the rights and privileges of the majority of the Parliament members while upholding democracy. He says it is his opinion that the request submitted to him by 116 members of Parliament, stating that the decision made by the President was unconstitutional and undemocratic, and that the Parliament should be summoned immediately to seek approval, is extremely reasonable. Accordingly, the Speaker highlights that he is compelled to accept the status that existed before the regime change until such time the new political alliance proved their majority in the Parliament. Convening a media briefing today, ministers of the government, however, condemned the statement made by Speaker Karu Jayasuriya.
Constitution is the basic law of this country. So everybody must agree that the basic law of the country must prevail. This is not atomic science.
But only the Speaker and the UNP have some other ideas.
Nobody can have ideas outside the Constitution of Sri Lanka, least of all officials who are supposed to carry out the Constitution of Sri Lanka. all of us are bound by the constitution, but there are some creatures in the parliamentary process and the democratic process who have specifically to follow the constitution.
The interpretation of the constitution is with the Supreme Court of Sri Lanka.
Yes.
So why don't they go there?
Whenever there is a difference of opinion regarding the interpretation of the constitution, there is legal provision. They can go to the Supreme Court, and they have done in the past also. This is nothing new, where they have either a full bench or a simplified bench will hold on those issues that will be legally debated. That is one thing you must ask. The UNP and Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe has not chosen to go through that door. That is the door that is first available to any citizen of this country.
When he was appointed on 9th of January 2015, what was he? In which government? There is no Prime Minister's government in Sri Lanka. It's a government of the President. He who decides who should be able to get the majority in the parliament, depending on his opinion, he appoints him.
In the meantime, newly appointed leader of the House, Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, assumed duties today. Several ministers also graced the occasion. In another development, the Attorney General today informed the Supreme Court that he raises objection over the fundamental rights petition filed by Attorney-at-Law NAGANANDa'S challenging the Gazette notification issued by the President, proroguing the Parliament, and requested that the petition be rejected. When the petition was called today, the court ordered the legal counsel of the petitioner to give a date via a motion for the petition to be considered.
Attorney-at-Law Krishmal Warnasuriya is of the view that Speaker Karu Jayasuriya has acted beyond his powers, attempting to assume certain powers that have not been attributed to him in terms of law. Warnasuriya described the statement made by the Speaker today as unconstitutional, saying if anyone were to find fault with the Constitution, the solution is not to violate it, but to amend or to establish a new Constitution.
The government is made up in terms of our constitution under Article 42 under the constitution. We give our legislative power to a parliament with 225 members, and we elect them to execute our legislative power, the people's legislative power, the law-making power. Our executive power we give to a president, and it is that executive president who forms a government. Who picks his cabinet? Article 42, it's a president. The president appoints a prime minister, the president appoints the ministers, and it is His Excellency the President that has complete control over appointment and removal of prime minister and the ministers. That's his prerogative power, his discretion, and no one can question that. In that backdrop, when the Honourable Speaker says that he has got some communication from 116 MPs saying that it is unconstitutional that Parliament should not be summoned, and that the Honourable Speaker considers this as unconstitutional. With the utmost respect to the Honourable Speaker, he has no authority or power in law to make such a decision. It is only the Honourable Supreme Court of this country that has absolute authority, the only court in this country that can interpret the Constitution. We have not given such a power to the Honourable Speaker to interpret the Constitution and figure out what is constitutional or not. So that is clearly unlawful. In terms of our Constitution, the supreme law of this country, it is His Excellency the President that has absolute authority to summon, prorogue or dissolve Parliament if anyone were to find fault with the law that we have at present, the Constitution. The idea is not to violate the Constitution. Then either we as a people must amend the Constitution or have a new Constitution made for us. And if we have a problem in interpreting the Constitution, we must go to the institution that has the power to interpret the Constitution. That's the Supreme Court.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, who engaged in religious observances at the Jayasree board yesterday, also visited the historical Mirisavati Temple and Jayanti Vihara in Anuradhapura. The Premier called on the chief incumbent of Mirisavati Temple, Venerable Attavetunuwave Panyananda Thera, and received blessings. Later, the Prime Minister also visited the Jayanti Vihara in Anuradhapura and received blessings from its chief incumbent, Venerable Nugathanne Jnanananda Thera. Now, former General Secretary of the United National Party, TISSA ATTANAYAKE, stresses that the party is in need of a new leadership along with a new political vision. Meanwhile, the UNP also worked off a protest in Colombo today, demanding that the parliament be convened soon. The Speaker has made a statement saying the decision taken by the President is wrong and it is against the Constitution. Due to that decision, parliamentarians are being sold at present for millions and billions. The Speaker has also accepted that some MPs were forced to cross over. Therefore, we ask the Speaker to convene Parliament. At the same time, we tell the President that if you are taking anti-constitutional measures, more dangerous things will happen and you will have to bear the responsibility. Therefore, we request the President not to create issues and convene the Parliament soon, respecting democracy.
Meanwhile, UNP MPs Harin Fernando, Dr. Harsha De Silva and Ajit P. Pereira held a media briefing at the Temple Trees today. Just before the media briefing, with the mics turned on, MP Harin Fernando let slip that UNP MP Chandrani Bandara has also visited the President's house today and engaged in a discussion.
We know that the central bank has been in long conversations with the rating agencies today. They are desperately trying to give a sense of comfort to the rating agencies that the fundamentals are sound, that the economy has been managed well, and that this political crisis will blow away in the next few days, and therefore they shouldn't be hasty in downgrading Sri Lanka, that they should wait patiently so that the political situation will come back to normal.
In the meantime, former General Secretary of the UNP, TISSA ATTANAYAKE, also commented on the current political situation prevailing in the country as well as the party.
The political journey which was led by UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe in the recent past was not beneficial for the party or the country. The party's popularity in rural level reduced. If we want to change this, we have to make mega changes within the party, but no opportunities given for that change. The present political crisis in the country and the issues within the UNP are two different matters. The political crisis in the country can be resolved via discussions. As for the UNP, it clearly needs a new leadership. The party needs a new program with a vision as well as a policy.
පැහැදිලි ලෙසම පක්ෂයට අලුත් නායකත්වයක් ඕනේ. පැහැදිලි ලෙසම පක්ෂයට අලුත් වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ඕනේ. ප්‍රතිපත්තියක් ඕනේ.
Now, UNP parliamentarians Hesha Vitanage and Palita Tevarapperuma were arrested and later granted bail today by the Fort Magistrates Court. The arrest relates to allegations of the two members of parliament assaulting retired Major Ajit Prasanna near the Temple Trees on the 1st of this month.
Retired Major Ajit Prasanna lodged a complaint with the Kolpiti police claiming that MPs Palita Tevarapperuma and Hesha Vitanage, along with several others, assaulted him. The retired major was attacked while walking in front of the Temple Trees on the 1st of this month, inflicting several external injuries. Following the complaint, the Kolpiti police summoned the two UNP MPs for an inquiry, after which they were arrested. The duo was produced before the Fort Magistrates Court and they were released upon a surety of 100,000 rupees each.
We've got business news coming on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. You're watching First at Now. Now the all-share price index dropped 0.49% to 6,062.09 points today. It hit a near two-month high on Thursday. The bourse rose 4.5% last week due to heavy retail investor participation. It has slipped around 4% so far this year. We now have Achyutan Srirangan from the First Capital Holdings with more details from the trading floor.
Bourse ended in red for a second consecutive day, dragged on by the LOIC holding and Dialog. Turnover improved by 46% compared to previous day, while a slight dip in volume were witnessed. A net foreign outflow for witnessed with a high foreign participation. On the crossing board, 1 million shares of TGL was traded at 34 per share, 970,000 of John Keys traded at 150 per share, and 50,000 melts are traded at 55 rupees per share.
Now to give you an update on the currencies, the Sri Lankan rupee ended weaker today owing to outflows from stocks and government securities. The currency ended at 174 rupees and 45 to 60 cents per dollar today, compared with the previous close of 174 rupees and 30 to 50 cents. Rupee weakened 3.7% in October after a 4.7% drop in September against the dollar. It has dropped 13.5% so far this year. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies around the world. Time to look at news from around the world. Now, President Xi Jinping today appeared to make conciliatory remarks intended for Beijing's critics. As he said, China will lower import tariffs and continue to broaden market access at the opening of a week-long trade expo. The country had come under criticism recently over its trade and business practices. Xi's remarks come at a time of heightened tension between China and some of its biggest trade partners, particularly the United States.
China has promised to further cut import tariffs and open its economy as it tries to address criticisms that its trade practices are unfair. In a speech at China International Import Expo in Shanghai, President Xi Jinping also made a robust defense of the global free trade system, which he said was under attack. President Xi Jinping said China will stimulate the potential for imports as an effort to further expand China's opening up policy. He added that China's initiative to expand imports is not a makeshift, but long-term consideration of embracing the world and future while promoting common development. Chinese president is optimistic that China's imported goods and services are estimated to exceed $30 trillion and $10 trillion respectively in the next 15 years. The comments are being seen as a reference to the US, with which China is fighting a bitter trade war. US has imposed tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods so far, while China retaliated with $110 billion worth of tariffs on US goods. The world's first import-themed national-level expo brings a total of 172 countries, regions and thousands of international organizations from the 5 continents to showcase their development achievements and international image at the 6-day expo. Heads of leaders from 17 countries ranging from Russia to Pakistan are set to attend the Shanghai event, though none from major Western nations. No senior US officials are expected.
The United States today reimposed oil and financial sanctions against Iran that will significantly turn up the pressure on Tehran in order to curb its alleged missile and nuclear programs. Ahead of the move, Iran's President Hassan Rouhani vowed to break swingeing sanctions targeting core parts of the country's economy.
The move by the United States today will restore sanctions that were lifted under a 2015 nuclear deal negotiated by the administration of President Barack Obama, while adding 300 new designations in Iran's oil, shipping, insurance and banking sectors. The Trump administration said on Friday that 8 importing countries would temporarily be allowed to keep buying oil from Iran, the world's 3rd largest oil exporter, when sanctions come back into effect. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said earlier that US aimed to reduce Iranian oil sales to zero. The US reinstated a raft of sanctions against Iran's currency trade, metals and auto sectors in August, but analysts say this latest round is by far the most significant. More than 700 individuals, entities, vessels and aircraft are now on the sanctions list, including major banks, oil exporters and shipping companies. US President Donald Trump withdrew the US from the nuclear accord earlier this year, an agreement he called the worst deal ever negotiated. It offered Iran sanctions relief in exchange for reducing its nuclear development. Tehran says it has complied fully with the nuclear accord and its commitment has been repeatedly confirmed by the UN atomic watchdog, the International Atomic Energy Agency. However, Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said on 31st October that his country has no fear of new American threats. On Saturday, Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei also said that US was weaker now than 40 years ago and any compromise plan was groundless. The European Union, UK, Germany and France, which are among the 5 countries still committed to the nuclear pact, have all objected to the sanctions.
We got tennis as well as an emotional cricket retirement coming up on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Moving on to tennis, KHACHANOV caused one of the shocks of the tennis year by overpowering Novak Djokovic in the Paris Masters final to end the Serbians' remarkable spell of dominance in the men's game yesterday. Djokovic anyway clinched the world #1 spot today, which was assured after Spaniard Rafael Nadal pulled out of the tournament.
For some time, KHACHANOV has been seen as one of the rising young talents in the sport of tennis, but few could have envisaged his 7-5, 6-4 demolition of superstar Novak Djokovic, who was on a 3-month, 22-match winning streak. Djokovic was expected to celebrate his return to world #1 today with a record-extending 5th Paris title, but he went down in 1 hour and 37 minutes in face of 31 crushing winners from the Russian's racket. Earning his 4th straight win over a top 10 player this week, KHACHANOV picked up the biggest title of his burgeoning career, which is also his maiden Masters 1000.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Taking a look at your weather now. Well, that is for tomorrow. There is a significant drop in temperature as the numbers are set to vary between 20 degrees Celsius and a rather milder 26 degrees. According to the Department of Meteorology, a low-pressure zone is likely to develop over the central part of the southern Bay of Bengal tonight and is likely to move west-northwestwards across southwest Bay of Bengal. Due to this situation, shower conditions are expected to enhance over the island, particularly in the east, north-central, northern, Uva and southern provinces from tonight. Heavy falls of around 100 to 150 millimeters can be expected at some places in the Uva, southern and central provinces, as well as in Batticaloa, Ampara and Polonnaruwa districts. And this is your city by city forecast. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. And before we go, we'd like to take you to Kitulgala, located 95 kilometers away from Colombo. Kitulgala, being blessed with 2 monsoons each year, records the highest rainfall in Sri Lanka. It is, however, the dry period during January to March, which makes Kitulgala one of Sri Lanka's foremost tourist attractions for those who love whitewater rafting. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.